regular meeting to order. I think we can skip the pledge of allegiance since we already did it once. So we'll jump down, privilege of the floor. Is there anybody that would like to address the board? We got you down for later, Mary Ann.
Okay, that's what I thought, thanks.
Don't all jump at once. Okay, moving on. Approval of a bunch of board minutes. We've got the October 8th board meeting, the October 8th public hearing minutes, and budget workshop minutes. Are there any changes, additions, corrections? Can you do them individually? Not if there's no objections. We can do them all together.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Old business. I have been shooting emails back and forth with Kevin, and apparently there's been another name change at Charter or Time Warner or whatever it is. So he's gonna send us a new franchise agreement. We're gonna have to hold another public hearing. But he said we can negotiate the channel for us, you know, without affecting the franchise agreement.
Great.
So I'm waiting, I haven't gotten anything from him yet, so once we get that, we'll schedule another public hearing for that. Voting machine, I called and asked what we could do with it. They said, you can take it to the crusher, you can give it away, you can do whatever you wanna do with it. So, if somebody wants it, great. If not, scrap it all, I guess.
I'll go ahead and check with the Historical Association, see if they want it for some reason.
New business. Mary Ann Greenfield's here to give us a little update on some classes she went to.
Yes, I wanted to thank the board very much for sending me to the conference that I went to in Albany in September. It was for the Association of Municipal Historians of New York State, the 4th region, which is what our region is. And I really learned a lot. I met a lot of people, talked with a lot of people. The two things that I brought home with me that I think are the most relevant are, the first is that this was a statement that was made by one of the other historians, that in every town, the town clerk is responsible for all of the town records. And each gravestone in each cemetery in each town is a public record. And the person who gave that talk felt that it should be considered part of the job of the town clerk to maintain the public records of the gravestones. What was it, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I think I started that project to photograph, document, clean if necessary, all of the gravestones in all of the town of Delhi cemeteries. The first year I did the Christian Church Cemetery by Fitch's Bridge, got GPS coordinates, I cleaned the stones I couldn't read, got a photograph of each stone, wrote down, and the reason it's a public record is it's the name, usually the birth date, the death date, sometimes the children's names, the parents' names, the wife, husband, things like that, where they were from sometimes. And so I did the Christian Church Cemetery, both sides of the sidewalk, and then I sent the information to Matt. The second year, I did the Laidlaw Cemetery, which is on Art Howard's old farm on Route 28. It's way up there. It's up on a hill. It's extraordinarily difficult to access, and I probably won't be able to get back there again. And there are probably between a half a dozen and a dozen stones there. And I also did the Dyer, D-Y-E-R, Dyer DeWitt Cemetery at the property of Ed and Jeanette DeWitt on Route 28. There's probably 4 gravestones there, and they were relatives of Ed DeWitt, who, one of them had been in the Civil War. His family had been here for a real long time. So anyway, so I got all that information together, photographs, cleaned the stones if I couldn't read them, and then I gave that to Matt also. So it was my hope and expectation that those records would be posted or uploaded, because I don't know how really that stuff happens, but uploaded to the Town of Delhi webpage. There is a website called Find a Grave, and anybody can go on to the Find a Grave website if they want a picture of their grandmother's gravestone and she lives in Ohio or Sweden or doesn't matter where, and they can put the request in for a photograph of that stone. A volunteer in the area goes to get a picture of it and then uploads it back. So I was hoping that it would be kind of interactive for us that way, that the town of Delhi would have a feature like that, but that hasn't happened. I don't know if Matt still has that information. My computer since then, that was 4 or 5 years ago, was crashed and burned, so I don't have any of that. The second thing that I wanted to say is there's another website that I found out about the conference, and I would like to pursue this, but I'm not exactly sure how to make it available to the town of Delhi, because that's really my focus. It's called Billion Graves, and it's similar to Find a Grave, but it's a lot newer site, very small site. But when you have the app on your phone, you have a smartphone, and you launch the app, when you're in a cemetery, you can take a picture of a gravestone, and it pinpoints it in the cemetery. What I've learned within the last few years is the GPS coordinates are very broad, and a 1 or 2 acre site can have like 2 minutes difference or seconds difference in the GPS coordinates. So it's impossible to locate a specific gravestone that way. But with Billion Graves, you get like a drone image, or I don't know if it's drone image, but it looks like a drone image that pinpoints the gravestone in the cemetery. And then once you take the picture when in the app, then it goes into the app, and then you can also add whatever other information is on there, name, date, who they're married to, all that kind of stuff. So I would like to consider not doing my old project all over again, because I can't get to the Laidlaw Cemetery. I could probably do that with Christian Church Cemetery and Dyer DeWitt Cemetery, and then there are other Delhi town cemeteries. Woodland Cemetery is not a town cemetery, Flats isn't a town cemetery. But I would like to try to do that, but I don't know how, if I do it in the Billion Graves website, I don't know how to translate it to the Town of Delhi webpage. So if I can't do that, if I'm gonna continue this project, then I know this is huge for Elsa, but you already have everything from Woodland Cemetery, because the superintendent of the cemetery is mandated to give you the burial records and all that. So you've got a huge file on Woodland Cemetery. What you don't have are the burials from the other town cemeteries. So that's what I would like to include. There's probably 6 maybe altogether. So if I undertake this project again, and I stopped just because it wasn't going anywhere, but if I undertake this project again, I would like to know if the board has some suggestions or recommendations for how we can really make this happen, if in fact that's something you would like me to pursue. So that's it for me.
We do still have the data the images that you sent to me, so.
No, it's all gone, it crashed and burned.
I still.
Oh, you do, you do.
Yeah, and it was my intention to put on the website too, but it became a little bit, just the website itself became something that we needed to replace completely, which is, I think we're pretty close to.
Yeah,
doing.
we're close to having the new website ready to go.
Okay, so
hopefully we could find a way to integrate.
I can talk to Dave Kopichak,
Yeah.
since he is the one
Yeah.
that's redoing this, just to see if he has an easier
Right.
way to integrate, both of these websites and their information, and getting the data from that. We probably just need to get a price on that before we can move forward.
Right, so, I mean, once I, because I have the app, the Billion Graves app on my phone, and once I get the information, it doesn't just have to stay there. I can then get it to Matt also, if that's not too cumbersome.
I think we don't wanna recreate the other site, that's not what you're proposing, we wanna just link to it, I'm
Yeah.
proposing.
Right, I could, like, I really can't get to the Laidlaw Cemetery again, but I can do the others, I don't have those pictures, but you have them. But, yeah, I mean, if you have the pictures and you have the other data that I gave you, then it's just a matter of me doing the same thing I did before with the other cemeteries, now that we're gonna have a new webpage, right?
Yeah,
So I'll
but-
just proceed with the same thing I did before. Right.
Which is good for Delhi, but it's not gonna get the information out there the way that these other
Right,
things
right.
will, so it's
Right,
sort of like the icing on the cake if we do that, I think. It's my
Right.
my personal opinion.
yeah, and I think like everybody knows about Find a Grave, very few people know about Billion Graves, but my thought was that anybody who's interested in Delhi, you know, that maybe they don't live here, but their grandmother was from here or something, and they wanna know more about Delhi, it seems to me that they would go to the Town of Delhi webpage. And the more they can
They come
get
here
there.
a lot, we do a lot of genealogy.
Right,
We have a
right.
lot of people come in here and ask questions, and unfortunately we have records, so to speak, as to when the individual passed on or whatever, but as far as burial information for that period of time, I can't produce that for anyone, and I've had a lot of people, genealogy is getting huge, a ton of people, we have people from, we've had people from California here that,
Right.
came out doing genealogy, PA, a lot of people from PA come up here for that.
Well, I just had a man from England who was supposed to come, I was gonna come last month, but he's a professor emeritus at the University in Liverpool, and he's writing a book on John Womack Vandercook, who lived on Second Street where the Fishers live now. And so he was gonna come and spend days in Delhi, but then he got sick at the last minute, didn't come. But I mean, I know that there's a lot of, and so I've researched where the Vandercook graves are in Woodland Cemetery, and I'm totally ready for them. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. Okay, so I will plan to continue to do what I was doing before, email Matt the information, and we'll take it from there. Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Is that something that you could print out, and that we could even have a copy of that here in the office? Is that
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that you could
For
print
sure.
out for me, or
I mean,
bring
there
in the
was-
disc that we
There
could
was
print?
there were files that there was like a catalog of what was photographed, but the photographs are the interesting part, I think.
But
Yeah.
it gives names and information, so that, if somebody came in, when they do their genealogy,
Right.
we can, show them also something like that.
Okay.
That would be nice to have a
Mhm. Yeah, yep. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, I think for now we'll skip over the budget and deal with these other issues. Authorization for, Brian Rosenthal has requested, rather than paying him out for his vacation time, sick time that he had, he would like to take that and just apply it towards his health insurance for as long as it lasts.
Yep.
Which probably is a benefit to the town, not having to cut him a big check right now. So, is there a motion to allow him to do that?
So
So-
moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
ZBA reappointment, 5 years. Who was
No.
that?
Read?
Ellie? Rito's willing to
Yes,
suck it up for another 5 years, is he?
yes.
Better set the hook then while we can.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion to approve Al Reed for another 5-year term?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Board of Assessment Review reappointment,
Libby Kelly.
that's Libby Kelly. She's got her training in. So we don't have to retrain anybody, so same thing, it's a one day, once a year. Is there a motion to approve Libby Kelly for another term?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town clerk and deputy town clerk, want to go to a training seminar?
Yeah,
Yes,
there's
where
a
was it?
training seminar gonna be held on the 9th of December. I would have to close the office to do that, but I think it's a really important training. It's with the New York State Department of Health for vital records and for, which include, you know, your marriages, birth, deaths, and with the EDRS, all the, lovely differences that they're doing now with, especially births. So I would really like to have Laura and I go to that. As I say, it's the 9th, which I believe is a Monday, and it's $35 a piece for, each of us.
Make a motion to send the town clerk, the deputy town clerk for training.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
ISD agreement for 2020. Need authorization to sign the contract with ISD for our computer needs.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Janet, all in favor?
Aye.
Got another land acquisition comment sheet from New York City. When I got looking at it closer, they messed up the tax map number. So I had a conversation with Paul Lenz today, and I said, the lot you say you're buying is only 41 acres, but you said you're buying 145 acres, and you've got the owner's name different. And, so they're finding out who wrote this up, and we'll get a new sheet. But it's on Elk Creek, across from Heimer's old farm.
And the correct acreage is 140 something?
Yeah, the correct acreage is about 145 and a half acres. The owner's gonna retain about 4.7 acres. The city's proposing to buy a little over 140.
Was it on the market?
I don't know.
For New York City.
For New York City. They don't solicit anymore in our area, but if somebody calls and wants to sell to them, they also don't refuse to negotiate. So it's another piece. A lot of it is floodplain and side mountain. You've got to get across the stream for most of it. So I kind of get where they're coming from, but like I said, I'm kind of tired of seeing them buy land here. But when we get the corrected version, we'll send them a letter saying
So we're not in
what our
favor.
concerns are, that we're not in favor of them buying more land, but anywho,
That'll go along.
yeah, that and a couple bucks will get you a cup of coffee, so. Let's go on and do committee board reports, we'll come back to the budget at the end. Highway and machinery. What's up?
Definitely looking for approval for a new employee hire.
Yeah. I think, to discuss personnel, I think we ought to do it in an executive session. So maybe do we wanna do that now or later?
It's up to you. I mean, if we do it now, I don't know how, it shouldn't take very long.
Yeah, it should be pretty quick and simple.
So,
Wanna make a motion then?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the,
Employment history of a particular person?
yeah.
Alright, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're gonna take a short executive session, to discuss some personnel, ask Darren to stay. And then, I'll come and get everybody
Going
when we're
into
ready.
executive session. We're going into executive session. No, it's 7 o'clock. But it just started, but they're just going into executive session. They just have to discuss a new hire, so they're kicking us out. But they'll be back. They'll all be back. Better take these.